Hello and welcome to this episode of HXGN TV. I'm your host, Laura Beth Ezel, and today I am joined by Geoff Zeiss, who is with Between the Poles, and we're going to be discussing utility infrastructure and the dramatic impact that digital, with a special focus on geospatial technology, is having on how the electric power grid works and how it's managed. Now, in the electric power industry, it's often referred to as Grid 3.0, correct? So,
That's
Geoff,
right.
Thank you for joining me today.
I'm really glad to be here, Laura.
Geoff, just first tell me about, your background related to the utility industry and about Between the Poles.
Yeah, I've been in the utility industry for a long time. Originally building large systems for large utilities, records management systems and so on. I worked for Autodesk for about 11 years and I was responsible for the utility business there. But there's several things within the utility business that is just exciting. It's hard to control my, my excitement about what is going on in the utility business right now. Because it's, if you remember 30 years ago when we were going through telecom and all the new things, cell phones and, everything that happened in communications, well, the same thing's happening in utilities right now. Okay. And so it is I'd say electric power utilities. Same thing will happen to water, but right now it's the most exciting business to be in.
So let's jump in and let's talk about some of these technologies and how they're changing the industry, the utility industry.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is solar PV. Okay. Just people putting panels on their roof. Some people putting panels on the roof, also putting batteries in their basement, and can even go off the grid. This is dramatically changing the utility business model. In the past, they sold electricity basically. Right. Now they have a problem with that because people are generating their own electricity. And if you look at some of the most advanced states in the U.S., we're moving toward a model where the traditional utility will maintain the infrastructure, the wires, and so on, but there'll be an open market for electric power. You'll generate electric power, I'll buy it from you because I need it sometime. I might buy it from a central authority or so on and so forth, but I might even decide to go off the grid. Or maybe a group of us on a street will go off the grid, have our own microgrid, and sell electric power into the grid. Right. So this is dramatically changing how utilities run their business.
Okay. So what is Grid 3.0 and what is happening in the electric power industry as a result of this technology? Okay,
so Grid 3.0, the key parts of Grid 3.0 are smart, what is called smart grid, means an intelligent grid that has bidirectional flows of electric power, but it also has distributed electric power generation, which means you and I generate power. We have big power plants that generate power as well, but it becomes really an open market. And there are people now, in fact, Gartner, who is a really famous analyst firm, is predicting that by 2020, the biggest electric power utility will not own any infrastructure, will just be like an Uber for the electric power industry. And we'll have our own little electric power Uber on then. I'll say, Laura, I'd like to buy some power from you because I need some because I'm doing X and Y. You may want to buy some from me, but it's the whole market there. And that huge company that, it's like Airbnb or Uber that dominate these countries. It's the same thing that's going to happen in the utility industry.
It's like redefining what a utility provider is.
Absolutely. And the state that's probably leading this charge in some ways is New York, which is changing their whole regulatory model. So that utilities will not sell electric power anymore. They will just maintain the infrastructure. There'll be a regulated monopoly, and there'll be a wide open market for electric power. It's going to drive costs down dramatically, and it gives consumers choice. You can stay on the grid, you can go off the grid, but the electric utilities or the retail utilities will start providing services. They'll say, listen, we can turn your oven on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't have to worry about doing it. It's a central thing. You use your smartphone. You just go and log in and say, I want my refrigerator to go off, or I want my refrigerator to only use power after midnight when it's cheaper. That kind, or if you've seen neat thermostats.
So the consumer is controlling how much they want to spend.
That is what's driving the whole thing, is that consumers get control over things. Okay. Up to now, we just sit there and we get the power and we send in money every month. Right? That's our interaction.
You cringe when you open the bill.
But think of what you do with your telephone company now. The services they provide. Same thing's going to happen with electric power. It's really exciting.
So let's talk about, how does geospatial technology play into this?
Okay, so there's a couple things about what we call distributed energy. It's either solar PV or it's wind usually.
Okay.
The wind doesn't always blow, and at night, the sun's not on.
Right.
And so what we have to do, and what is driving a lot of geospatial technology right now, is being able to predict even 27 minutes in advance what the wind's going to do next, or what the sun's going to do next. Is there a cloud coming that's going to basically cover this solar farm?
Yeah.
Right? Because when things like that happen, a storm comes or squall comes rapidly, and all of a sudden the solar farm is in the shade, the power generation just drops dramatically.
Right.
And for an electric utility to deal with that, they have to ramp up typically a natural gas-fired plant to cover the load that they're losing when that drops. Then when the cloud goes by and all of a sudden these solar panels ramping up, they have to be able to shut things down. So 27 minutes is really a key. Now that's inherently geospatial. You need to know, it's basically called nowcasting. You need to know where the clouds are, where the winds, what the wind velocity is, at a very local level. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that utilities are collecting incredible volumes of data now. Smart meters, every one of those things reports typically every 15 minutes. And there's a lot of other devices, smart transformers and so on, line monitors and so on, some of which will report every five times a microsecond. And to integrate that data, to bring it together, geospatial is key, because things that are close together tend to affect each other. It's really that simple. So those two things are making geospatial actually foundational for Grid 3.0.
Okay, well, geolocating underground utilities, is a worldwide challenge.
That is a worldwide challenge.
Yeah, so are there, some new developments that are going to address this problem?
Yeah, there are. This is another area, and this is really practical. This is happening right now. There have been studies in the United States and in Europe that the ROI for every dollar or every euro that's invested in geolocating, in other words, determining where things are underground, has a return of $16 to $21 or euros. I mean, it's incredible return.
So there's definitely a push here from companies to invest in something to find this.
And in a lot of cases in North America, when a construction company puts in a bid, they routinely will add on 10%. Because they don't know what utility they might potentially hit. If you're doing an excavation and you hit a water main, which means you're going to have a lot of water, you hit electric power, but the worst thing is hitting a gas main. Yeah. And that can kill people. And those kinds of things are very expensive. The other thing is that when you build a building, you need to know where the utilities are to connect to. And in most places in North America, if you're doing an excavation, you call what's called a one-call center and say, I'm going to do an excavation at this location. And typically 7 trucks come out from all the utilities and telecom with their magic wands to determine what's there, because they don't know what's there. Right? And so that's why there's such a huge opportunity in device. Now, this is an area where Hexagon is really leading the charge, because they have worked on an arrangement with a company called IDS, which is out of Italy. They have something called Stream. Hexagon has put basically a Pegasus 2, which is a device with many cameras on it, including LiDAR and so on, and geolocating and GPS and so on top of a ground penetrating radar array. And you can tow that thing around at about 10 miles an hour, and that gives you a really good, it basically maps out what's underground. And to do that at 10 kilometers an hour is absolutely incredible. I don't know anybody else who's doing that at this point. So I think this is an area where Hexagon is really showing leadership.
So obviously, being able to geolocate is good for the company. What about the customer side? I mean, you said how it's going to, you tack on more cost.
Yeah, so there's a couple of jurisdictions that have a program to map everything underground. Las Vegas started some time ago.
Yeah.
The big advantage is if I'm a construction company or I'm a land developer and I have a choice of developing in Chicago, where they haven't done this, and in Las Vegas, And I can develop in Las Vegas, and I know I can reduce my bid by 10% because I know where everything is underground.
Right.
It makes Las Vegas a lot more attractive. France has a program to do this for the entire country, map everything underground to 40 centimeters. Well, I mean, that means if I'm going to develop, maybe Paris would be a lot more attractive than
Right.
London, for example, because I know where things are. So there's tremendous economic benefits and financial benefits to companies when the jurisdiction knows where things are underground.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I think that's about it. Just that electric power is the most exciting thing that there is going right now, and if you get a chance to get into it, do it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Geoff, for your time today, and thank you for joining us. For more on Hexagon Safety and Infrastructure, you can go to hexagonsafetyinfrastructure.com. And for more on HXGN TV or to watch additional episodes, you can go to hxgntv.com. Thank you for joining us.